It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Brewdog and it's a lager, a cold beer lager. It's quite interesting because I think, not to nitpick straight away, but I would have called it cold lager beer. Not cold beer lager, but maybe the copyright for cold lager beer has gone. Maybe they just wanted to call it cold beer. This cost me £4 for a box of 4 in Tesco. It's 3.4% ABV. And it says, best served iced cold. Or ice cold. Best served ice cold. Some of you long admirers of the channel will know that I've been reviewing Brewdog beer since end of 2010, maybe beginning of 2011. And the message was very different back then. The message was, well, I was always told, because I was learning back then, to not drink your IPA or your pale ales or your craft beer too cold because you're going to lose flavour. That's one of the first things I learned. And of course, back then, Brewdog were a proper craft brewer. They were a small company producing small batch beer. Excellent beer back in 2010. So it just shows the growth of the company, doesn't it? The growth of the company now is that they're a big macro regional kind of Scottish brewer who produce a lot of beer for a lot of supermarkets. 3.4% ABV lager. This beer has been brewed for this. There was a new kind of tax on beer and alcohol that come in last year. The higher the ABV, the more you're going to get taxed. So a lot of brewers now have started to produce lower ABV beers. So this is Brewdog's. Quite a nice looking can. It's quite fetching actually, I quite like it. Two finger white head, good levels of carbonation. It's a golden amber coloured lager, a little bit darker than what I was expecting. I was expecting this real straw coloured beer. Lots of lagers, from bigger breweries are now, they're straw coloured. But I think what's happened here, they've decided to go for a slightly darker malt, maybe to get some of that flavour, because what happens when you brew a beer at 3.4% ABV, the first thing you're going to be looking to do is where are we going to get the flavour from? And that's going to be malt and hops. Clear, no haziness in this one. Let's get the aroma. It doesn't smell too bad, to be honest with you. I think, for me, Lost Lager, yeah, it's all right. Lost Lager, this is kind of immediately like a lighter ABV. There's a little kind of estery kind of lager yeast coming through. I'm not getting too much of the aroma of malt, because I've done exactly what they've asked me to do. This beer is served ice cold. My fridge is set to 4 degrees, so I'll be drinking this at 4 degrees today, but it is impacting on the aroma. I'm not really picking up too much of a malt aroma here. Maybe a touch of kind of spicy, peppery hop. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Do you know what? That's a lot better than what I was expecting it to be. Brewdog have been quite clever here. They've used, I mean, I picked it out on the aroma. They've used a darker malt. And by using a darker malt, you're pulling flavour. You're using that darker malt to be able to produce flavour in the beer. I think if you used a really light wafer-like malt in this beer, I think you lose it. So they've gone for the right decision here. They've made the right decision in using a darker malt, and that malt is offering a decent amount of flavour actually for a 3.4% ABV beer. I didn't know how this review was going to go. I was going to either absolutely hate this beer and lambast it, and 3.4, you know, Brewdog have made a beer, they're asking you to serve it ice cold, they've gone full circle on themselves, they're not a craft brewer anymore. I could have done all of those things. But of course, I think you've got to give credit where credit's due. You have to give credit where credit's due. I think it's above Brewdog. I think personally, if taxation keeps getting higher on alcohol, and you know, if you were able to produce a lower ABV beer, then you get taxed less on it, then I think that's what an awful lot of brewers are going to do these days. You can't blame Brewdog. I mean, they've made this for £1 a can. They've made this £4, 4 cans, £1 a can. £1 a can. I think that's a pretty good price for this. I think this is a slammer of a beer. I think this is a beer that probably complements Lost Lager. I think this is the beer that maybe you go to a funeral at 10 o'clock in the morning and you end up at a wake at 11 o'clock and you're thinking, bloom, this is going to be a long day type of thing, you know. This may be the beer that gets you through the first maybe 3 hours of a wake, you know, as morbid as that sounds. Maybe you got a barbecue starting at 12 o'clock lunchtime and you're thinking this barbecue could go on till midnight. You know, a 4-pack of these to start off with wouldn't be the wrong decision, I don't think. I think this would guide you through while you're cooking your burgers and your sausages. Then maybe you move over to Lost Lager or Camden Helles or whatever you're going to move on to. I don't think I'd want to drink. I think if I bought a 4-pack of this, I think I'd drink the 4 cans and I'd be happy. I'd be ready to move on to a Lost Lager or something a bit stronger. It has its place. It has its place for me as a Sunday lunchtime session lager. It's never going to be the greatest lager in the world. There's a little bit of a crisp malt flavour coming through, touch of sweetness, touch of bitterness on the back end. Not really much else going on. As I mentioned, there's a bit of an esteriness coming through on the aroma from that lager yeast. It's okay. I've drunk worse beer. It's wet. It's a little sweet and malty. There's a little bit of bitterness on the back end. There's no off flavours in the beer. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. You know, there's no infection. There's no problems with the beer. It's just a little bit boring, if you like. But it's good enough for an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. I don't know what else I can say about the beer, so I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.